In the past 30 days, my app went from having 0 users to over 10,000 users, literally over 100xing the number of users on our app in 30 days. And we also went from $0 of revenue to $4,000 of revenue in a month. And while this is great, one big problem came up, and it's the fact that my app was not originally built to scale and handle that many users actively signing up and testing out the app. And in this video, I'm going to be going over the main performance optimizations that I did to make my app run faster and scale from 0 to 10,000 users. And then later on in the video, I'm also going to go over some of the things I thought about doing but haven't quite taken the leap to do yet. And before I go into talking about the performance optimizations that I actually did, I know that some haters are going to be like, bro, this is fake, show us the proof, show us the sauce, bro. So I'm going to show you the proof of what exactly I built and show you the real numbers that went into it and how much I scaled. And then afterwards, we're going to go into talking about how exactly I improved the performance of the app. The app that I'm building is called Yorby, and it's a social media marketing platform that has 2 main goals right now, and that is to help you find and get inspiration to make viral marketing content to market your business faster. And then we also help you create viral marketing content to market your business faster. So we're trying to make marketing content inspo and creation a lot easier. And the main premise of how it all works is that number one, we have this viral content database, which is a whole database of different types of viral formats that other businesses have used, strictly what other businesses have used to market their business on social media and what's worked. And then from there, you can actually remix these videos within our content studio. For example, let's say we see this video, and when you click on the content studio button, you're going to then be opened up into our content studio right here. And from here, you can remix this content to fit whatever niche that your business is in. So obviously this original video looks like some type of health and wellness brand, but let's say I want to remake this same exact video for a dating app, like a fictional dating app right here. Then you can just send this chat message, and then we use our AI that will then transform this entire script to fit your niche, your brand, whatever you're trying to market, while still maintaining that same original viral format and viral soul that video had. So that's the main premise of our app. And in terms of the growth, right here, you can see that we went from, let's see, January 1st, 0, literally nothing on January 1st. And then we've steadily grown. And right now we have over 10,000 signed up users. And then in terms of revenue, if you look at the gross volume, you can see that in the past 4 weeks, in the past month, we have made over $4,000 of revenue in the past month. And literally before that, there was literally nothing going on. If you go over here, I'll do the whole, let's see, all time. And you can see right here, basically nothing happened. And then in December, things started to pick up. We started getting our first couple of users, and things just started going crazy afterwards. So there's the proof. I'm not joking. This is really real. I'm not making stuff up for the internet. So now let's get into the actual performance optimizations that I did. All right, so right now we are in the Supabase dashboard for my project Yorby. So the first big performance optimization that I did was simply upgrading the Supabase instance. This was more of like, oh my God, like I know that there's other optimizations that I can do, but honestly, the performance was so bad that I had to do something immediately. So what we ended up doing was I upgraded to the XL instance. Originally, I believe I was on the micro instance, just like straight up the starter package for $20 a month. And clearly it was not meant to scale to handle like 10,000 users. So as a first line of defense, the first thing that we did was increase the compute instance for my Postgres database within Supabase. And the way that I did that, I kept upgrading, kept running into a couple limits and performance issues here and there. Then I ended up just going for the XL step package, and that has helped out a lot. Granted, it is freaking expensive. This is like $200 a month. Champagne problems, you know, I know it's like lobster's too rich. I know it's like, oh, my lobster's too buttery, my steak is too rich, you know. I have enough users that I was actually forced to just pay for a bigger compute instance, but still hurt. $200 a month is crazy. Oh yeah, and the way that I knew that I had to increase the size of my compute instance was I went over here to the observability tab in Supabase, went over to my database, and I was looking at the CPU usage. And for a while when I was on the smaller instances, the CPU usage was consistently going to 100%. And like a lot of these other metrics were just showing that it was just getting incredibly overworked. And the database was just being overworked and overloaded with too much usage. So I knew that, okay, I know that this is a first line defense. I know that I can do other things to improve the performance, but this is something I know that for sure I probably will have to do no matter what. First thing, just upgraded my Supabase instance into a larger instance. Expensive, but works. But that didn't fix the core issue of the problem, which was just a really inefficiently and janky, hacky written app. So then that's when I started to look into like, what queries can I start optimizing? Luckily, Supabase also has this query performance tab. So as you can see here, you go into the observability, you go to query performance, and from here, you can see what some of your biggest slow query performances are. So you can see here, I have these queries queries within my teams table, very, very expensive. We're seeing like a mean time of 8 seconds per query. Oh my God, 2 seconds per query. That's really, really bad. So from here, what I actually ended up doing was within Google Chrome specifically. Let me switch over to there. Yes, I do use Safari as my main personal browser, and then I only use Google Chrome for like work browsing when I need to. Like, I know that I'm not an expert in terms of query optimizations or even reading through the Supabase dashboard. So what I ended up doing was I started to use AI. I did this both with Claude as well as the built-in Gemini within Google Chrome. So Google Chrome has support for these AI extensions that lets AI actually navigate throughout the website for you and click around and just do tasks on your behalf. I ended up telling both Claude as well as Gemini the problem that I'm facing with my Supabase instance, how slow it was, the performance issues I was running into. I will tell it to go navigate throughout the entire Supabase website and see what performance optimizations that I can do. And then from there, this computer use tool that Claude and Gemini have within Chrome, they are able to screenshot the web page and see where to click on and where to navigate to, and then read whatever is on that page. So when I did this, each task took like 20 to 30 minutes. It was a really long running task, not fast at all. But what they ended up doing was just going throughout my entire Supabase dashboard, finding some problematic queries and other optimizations that I can do. And one thing they did recommend was increasing my compute size. And it was actually because of AI that they took me to this observability tab that I actually didn't know existed within Supabase, where I could start diagnosing some of the problematic queries that I had. Then I also told them to tell me what all the problematic queries were and how I can improve them. So this is a really great use case of like, I'm knowing that I'm not an expert, but I know AI can probably become a better expert than I am, and delegating this whole research process to AI to use the browser, browse for me, and find all the things within my Supabase instance that I can improve. So then from there, I was able to get a list of problematic queries just from Supabase and AI to like find all of those for me. But then what I also did was actually use my app myself, like browse around, like I would load the viral content database. I realized this was like really slow to load at times. I would go into this Your Library tab, like within here, you can spy on different accounts and get alerted whenever they make like, high performing content. So you get alerted, like one of your competitors makes good content. We have a personal library tab that lets you upload individual pieces of content yourself that you can like remix if it doesn't exist in our viral content database, liking posts and collections posts. And I realized during these tabs navigations, it was really, really slow. So essentially what I would do, I would navigate through my app, see where some of the biggest latency there was, and I would write it down into a scratch pad. Then from there, I had a general premise from both the AI researching my Supabase dashboard, as well as my personal usage of Yorbi to see where the biggest latency existed. And then from there, I would go into my code editor. In this case, I've been testing out Zed, might do a little review on this editor for in a bit. So from here, I would use boot up Cloud Code. Then as an MCP, I added the Supabase MCP for my project, the same project that AI earlier was navigating and exploring, right? And then from there within Cloud Code, I would tag all of the really problematic pages, like this viral content database page was really slow. I would tag all of the pages one by one and then tell Cloud Code to do an investigation on every single page that was really slow, see what queries that they were doing, what tables they were hitting, what keys that they were researching and fetching and filtering on. And then I would then tell them, use the Supabase MCP, analyze those exact tables and see what the current database table schema is, what indexes are available on these tables. And then based off of the queries that are actively being done on those components in my code, what additional database optimizations can I add? Particularly, what indexes can I add to my tables within Supabase to improve the performance? And that was a huge unlock. It basically was able to pinpoint the exact indices that I did not create on my first go making my application. And that was a huge unlock on my behalf because, when I was originally creating the first version of this app, I wasn't thinking about scale. I wasn't thinking about any of that. I was thinking about just getting the app out as fast as possible to get signal from users. Do users want to buy this? Do people actually want this? And as a result, I forgot to add a ton of different indexes and indices into my table to lead to faster database performance and faster queries. But then by being able to use Cloud Code to look at the exact tables, the exact fields that I was querying against, and then using Cloud Code to use the Supabase MCP to look at the current structure of my tables, it was able to write a ton of additional indexes that I was missing, that I forgot to add in the first implementation. And that was a huge performance improvement because everyone knows with any type of SQL tables and SQL databases, one of the fastest ways to improve database performance is by adding good indexes and good table structures. So that was a huge unlock. Once again, leveraging AI vastly improved the performance of my application. Now, after adding all of the missing indexes to my table, the next biggest, arguably the biggest optimization that I did was just better caching throughout my application. And a big component of this was offloading really heavy read operations off of Postgres onto Redis instead. Now, personally for me, I use Upstash. It is a serverless Redis platform. I've used them for a lot of other parts of my app. If you look at other videos on my channel, you'll see that I talk a lot about how I use Upstash workflows for huge portions of my app. It basically lets you do longer, more complex operations that would normally time out on serverless functions, but you can do like 20, 30-minute operations on serverless functions. Really, really great product. I love using Upstash for workflows. Then I also know that they originally started off being a serverless Redis provider. And then if you go over to my Upstash Redis provider, you'll see that I have like tons of reads, 91,000 reads versus 4,000 writes. And that is just a testament to better caching. And the big optimization that I did here is when you go into my application, you can see everything is scoped to a specific team, in this case, Yorby team, right? And if you look at the URL, you can see that this is the team slug, and every single thing that comes after this is that specific product, right? So this is the content studio page, but then I go to the viral content database page, that is also scoped to that particular team of Yorby. So every single one of these pages, basically the main bulk part of the app, is all scoped to this team's path. And as you saw earlier, you can see that the team's Supabase query, Postgres query was really slow. You can consistently see that of all the really problematic queries that took a really long time, they were all reading from the teams table. And the reason for that is if you go into my code, within the teams page, the main entry point, throughout my app, I littered my app like crazy with making sure that the user is in that correct team, and only if they are in that designated team, they can perform a certain database operation. Obviously, this is really important for security purposes because you don't want somebody being able to make a request on a team that they are not a part of. So we couldn't rip this logic out of my app. Then instead, the workaround that I did was, instead of reading from Postgres every single time for checking what is a team slug given an ID, or what is a team ID given a slug, and who are the members of our particular team, instead of reading from Postgres every single time, I use Redis instead. I cache all the team info into Redis because I know that for most users, the team instance does not change much. It's very stale, very read heavy, and very write light. Very few updates are ever being made. At least right now, not a lot of teams or team members are being added. But even later on, if a user does delete a team member, add a team member, it's not that much writing being done and a lot more reading being done. So we didn't have to waste Postgres resources to perform this read operation, and instead I cache it all within Redis. And not only that, I also cache it using React's cache command. I believe this is a new thing that they added to React recently in their really big server component push. And this cache function kind of does exactly what you think it does. It caches the results of whatever database operation that you're doing. And especially since when users are using our app, they are pretty much always within this scope of their team. Now what we're doing is every single time a user just logs in and uses the app to a specific team, we fetch all the information about that team, whether sometimes if it's a cache miss, it'll read from Postgres. If it's a cache hit, it'll read just directly from Redis. And we fetch that data, we cache it, and then now whenever users go on any other page on our app, it is so much faster because we cache that team information not only within Redis, but also within the React cache as well. And that team information, like you saw earlier in my Supabase query performance, is one of the most problematic, slow performing queries and slow performing tables that I have in my app. So that was a really, really big unlock for this much faster, much just quicker, more fluid performance. Better caching all around. And especially when you're using a framework like NextJS, I think caching is incredibly important. And honestly, I know that I am not an expert on how exactly the NextJS cache works. I think it can get a little esoteric sometimes, and that's something I want to read up a little bit more on just to have a better performing NextJS app. But these are some other workarounds that I did to improve the caching in my app, which led to significantly better performance within the app. And I think this is just one of the testaments to when you're building out your app, you need to use the right tool and the right database that is best for you. And in this case, I knew that the teams table doesn't change much, and I know it's a really read heavy and very write light. And in that case, a key value store like Redis is a really great solution for that type of operation. So those are the main performance optimizations that I did add into my app, but here are some things that I considered doing but just didn't quite pull the plug on quite yet. And throughout the process of my app, literally 100xing overnight and just getting way more users, we have seen a lot of our systems kind of be a little bit more broken. For example, in this viral content database, this content looks good so far, but every now and then, whenever we try to scrape a certain piece of viral content, the scraping fails and the user is not able to actually view the video that is presented in that piece of content. And then because I'm a solo developer, literally building out the entire thing by myself, I don't have time to manually go in and find the individual piece of content and fix it myself and trigger a rescraping job. So instead, I actually created an automation to handle this directly within Warp, which is the sponsor of today's video. Warp recently just launched their brand new cloud agent feature, which lets you run background agents for you on a schedule or based off of any triggers. Similarly, in the process of our app 100xing and getting over 10,000 users in the past month, we have found a lot of users coming from different countries, and we want to make sure that the website is localized into their native language. And we added localization support, and I personally only edit the English strings because that's my native language. But to make sure that we update in a lot of other locals and other languages, we have a daily job called Update Localizations that looks at all of our PRs and updates any string changes that we made into all the various other languages that we are supporting within our app, like right now, English, Korean, and German. Warp has been my go-to terminal since back in 2021, and now they've evolved to becoming a full-blown like agentic coding suite of tools. The terminal has always been my home as a developer, and then it transitioned into a place where I can actually get huge amounts of coding done with agentic coding. And now Warp has expanded beyond that with autonomous agents scheduled running in the background for you to do all sorts of different tasks for you. And you can run it in the background based off of a schedule like I showed you, or even a trigger based off of Linear, Slack, webhook, you name it. For example, if you look at their native integrations, there's Slack, Linear, GitHub Actions. So you can kick off any type of workflow from within any of your favorite workplace tools like the ones listed here. Thanks again to Warp for sponsoring today's video, and you can check out oz.dev to learn more. So one thing that I considered doing is using a read-only replica within Postgres. So Postgres, and by default Supabase, has this option as an add-on where you can have a read-only instance of your Postgres table, no write operations, and the whole benefit of this is that it offloads writing to be all done on your main instance, and within this read-only replica, because users are strictly only using it for reading, has less usage because there's less writing being done. So there's just more compute available to have the read operations being done on this Postgres table. I was considering this, but honestly the biggest turnoff for me was the fact that getting a read-only replica within Supabase is double the cost of what your original database is. So since I'm already on a $200 a month plan on the base table, I would have to pay another $200 a month, so $400 a month in total just to have a read-only replica of my database. I'm not opposed to doing it if it was really a big performance boost, but honestly migrating a lot of read operations onto better caching with Redis, that honestly improved the performance so significantly that right now I'm not even tempted to have a read-only replica table. But maybe in the future, if we have a lot more write operations being done, if it becomes super write heavy, probably better to have a separate table database instance only to handle the write operations and then have this read-only replica. And the last diabolical performance optimization I thought about was migrating my app off of NextJS to TanStack. Such a dumb thing to think to myself because like obviously I spend way too much time on dev social media, probably just like you do, and everyone's talking about how TanStack Start is so much better, and there's a lot of Next.js hate out there, which honestly I get. Next.js does annoy me, and if I were to rewrite an app from scratch, I probably would use TanStack Start. But then because of that, obviously when my app was becoming really slow, the first thing I thought was, it's because of Next.js. It's not because of my tables, it's because of Next.js. I gotta rewrite everything to TanStack. That's gonna make my app so much faster. When really the root cause was my Postgres tables, and that is where a lot of the slowdown came from. Now that's not to say a TanStack rewrite is off the table. It's just not immediately on the table. Obviously I have a lot of opinions about the whole Next.js versus TanStack thing, but my general like really high level overview thoughts on this is that Next.js is an app that's really great if you have a lot of static pages. I think it's great for static pages, but if you have a really high dynamic interactive app or a page, I think you're better off just using pure React TanStack with that Vite. You know, it's just so much faster than TurboPack and all of that. That's just my take, but I'm not at that point right now where I can just rewrite my entire app off of Next.js into TanStack quite yet. Not off the table. If anyone's interested in actually doing that migration for me, let me know. I could be interested. Reach out, leave a comment and let me know, and I might reach out to you. I gotta get off social media. I gotta get off coding and developer social media. It's so toxic. Anyways, that is all I have for today's videos. That is all of the optimizations that I did to my app Yorby after it 100x in size in 30 days. It's been a crazy past 30 days. Super fun, don't get me wrong, but really crazy. And if you like this type of content where I talk about my learnings and what I'm doing, actually building my startup, Yorby, make sure to follow this channel, make sure to subscribe to the channel so that you can get an alert of everything that I'm building and all the updates, the highs and the lows, and everything that comes with building an app. That's all I got for today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.